The child's hands were too small for the bucket, but she lifted it anyway, same as every morning since Mama took to bed. Emma's breath clouded in the pre-dawn cold as she trudged toward the well, her worn shoes crunching frost-hardened ground. 8 years old and alone in the darkness, she'd learned not to cry anymore. Crying didn't fill buckets or ease Mama's coughing or bring Papa back from the grave. The rope felt like ice through her thin gloves. She wrapped it twice around her small wrists and pulled, muscles burning. The bucket rose slowly, water sloshing. "Are you alone, child?" Emma's heart stopped. A man sat on horseback at the tree line, silhouetted against the first gray light. Tall, broad-shouldered, face shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat. His voice was low, rough as gravel, but not unkind. "I manage just fine." Her voice shook despite her defiance. "Mama says strangers ain't trustworthy." The man didn't move closer. He simply watched, still as stone. While Emma struggled with the bucket, she could feel his eyes on her threadbare coat, her too small shoes, the way she kept glancing back toward the distant cabin where thin smoke rose from a failing chimney. He tipped his hat slowly. "Ma'am." Then he turned his horse and rode back into the trees. Emma hurried home, water sloshing over her skirt. Inside, Mama coughed violently from the bed, her face fever-bright in the dim light. Emma didn't mention the stranger. Mama had enough worries. But through the window, hidden in the cottonwoods, Cole Hartley watched the cabin and saw everything he needed to see. A dying woman, a child carrying burdens no child should carry, and the ghost of his own daughter in that small, determined face he'd sworn never to care again. Some oaths were meant to break. He was there again the next morning. Emma saw him before she reached the well, already drawing water, filling her bucket without permission. The sight froze her mid-step. In daylight, he looked older than she'd thought, maybe 35, with lines carved deep around his eyes. His clothes were trail-worn but clean, no gun belt visible, though his horse carried a rifle. "Name's Cole," he said, voice gentle. "Saw you struggling yesterday, figured I'd help. Mama won't like charity. Ain't charity, just neighbors." He lifted the full bucket easily. "Lead the way." Emma hesitated, then walked. What choice did she have? Her arms still ached from yesterday. At the cabin, Cole stopped respectfully at the threshold, setting the bucket down, through the window. He glimpsed the woman inside, dark-haired, dignity visible even in illness, and the empty shelves that told their own story. "You got people in town?" he asked quietly. "Someone to help?" Emma's face closed off. "Town don't care for us much. Say Mama married wrong?" The words came out bitter, adult-sized pain in a child's voice. Cole nodded slowly. He'd seen that kind of prejudice before. "Your pa?" "Died last spring." Emma stared at her boots. "Accident with the plow. Mama's been sick since autumn." Something shifted in Cole's chest. Old scars pulling tight. He remembered another little girl. Another desperate winter. That one hadn't survived. "I'll camp nearby," he said. "Keep an eye out." "Why would you do that?" Cole looked toward the tree line, where morning light filtered through bare branches. "Because sometimes strangers are all we got." He rode to the woods and made a rough camp. That night, he stared at the worn photograph from his saddlebag, a woman and small girl, both gone 5 years now, his wife, his daughter, dead from fever while he chased outlaws across 3 territories. He'd been running ever since. Maybe it was time to stop. Sarah heard the hammering and knew her pride was breaking alongside the old roof. 3 days had passed. The stranger, Cole, Emma called him, had repaired the barn door. split a cord of firewood, and now worked on the cabin roof without asking permission. Sarah watched through fever-bright eyes as Emma handed him nails, the child's face lighter than it had been in months. "Mama, he brought flour," Emma whispered, "and salt pork. Real coffee, too." Sarah's hands trembled with weakness and shame. They were charity cases now, everything she'd fought to avoid. When Cole climbed down, she called from the doorway, voice thin but fierce. "Why? What do you want from us?" Cole paused, hammer still in hand. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, "Lost my own family, wife and daughter to fever, 5 years back. Been drifting since." His voice cracked slightly. "Can't just ride past." The anger drained from Sarah's face. She understood that particular grief, the kind that hollowed you out and left you walking through life like a ghost. She'd felt it after Thomas died, after the town turned its back. "You can stay," she said quietly, "but you eat with us, no more sleeping rough." That evening, they shared a sparse meal by lamplight. Emma asked about frontier stories, and Cole described chasing wild mustangs, surviving a 3-day blizzard, the time he'd tracked a horse thief across the Badlands. His voice warmed as he spoke, and Sarah saw the man he'd been before grief remade him. "Will you stay through winter?" Emma asked, eyes wide with hope. Cole looked at Sarah. She nodded, barely perceptible. "I'll stay." Later, alone in the barn, Cole placed his dead family's photograph beside a candle. Next to it, he set one of Emma's crude drawings, 3 stick figures holding hands, the past and a possible future, side by side. He blew out the candle and slept without nightmares for the first time in years. The townspeople stared, but Cole had endured worse than judgment. 2 weeks later, he rode into Redemption Ridge for supplies. The mercantile owner, a thin man with suspicious eyes, refused service until old Doc Brennan intervened. "His money's good, Samuel. Those folks need help." Cole bought flour, salt, medicine for fever. He heard the whispers as he worked, how Sarah's late husband had been half Cherokee, how the town considered it an improper union, how that widow woman had no business raising a child alone now. At the livery, he overheard more. The preacher, Sims, and a wealthy landowner named Thornton discussing Sarah's situation with barely concealed satisfaction. "Unfit mother," Thornton said. "That child deserves a proper Christian home." Cole's jaw tightened. He recognized land-grabbing dressed up as morality when he saw it. Back at the cabin, he unloaded supplies while Emma chattered about a robin she'd seen. First sign of spring. Sarah looked stronger, her color better with decent food. They'd fallen into comfortable rhythms, meals together, evening stories, the quiet companionship of shared work. That night, Emma begged for another tale. Cole told about the time he delivered a baby during a snowstorm, miles from any doctor. "Were you scared?" Emma asked. "Terrified. But fear just means you got something worth living for." Sarah met his eyes across the lamplight, and something unspoken passed between them. Not quite love yet, but the foundation for it. Trust, respect, the beginning of hope. Outside, a lone rider watched from the ridge. Thornton's man, making notes. Cole saw him when he stepped out for firewood, his hand instinctively moving toward where his gun belt would hang. He'd stopped wearing it weeks ago, trying to be someone different. Maybe that had been a mistake. Sarah knew she was falling for him. Worse, she knew Emma already had. Early March brought the first real thaw. Water ran in the creek again, and green shoots pushed through melting snow, inside the cabin, with Emma finally asleep. Sarah and Cole sat by the fire and talked the way people do when they sense time running short. "Thomas was a good man," Sarah said quietly. "Cherokee scout, brave and honorable. The town never forgave us for marrying after he died." She paused, firelight catching the pain in her eyes. "They've been waiting for an excuse to take Emma, claim I'm unfit." Cole stared into the flames. "I was a territorial marshal once. My family died while I was tracking outlaws 2 territories over. 3 weeks I was gone. Came home to graves." His voice went hollow. "Turned in my badge that day. Couldn't save the people who mattered, so what was the point?" "You think you failed them." Sarah's hand covered his. "I think you loved them so fierce it broke you. Maybe some things should stay broken. Or maybe they heal crooked, but heal just the same." Cole turned his hand over, lacing their fingers together. "There's a warrant, minor thing, desertion of duty, not criminal, but enough to cause trouble if someone looks." "Past don't matter," Sarah said firmly. "Only what you choose now." They sat in silence, hands joined, until dawn light crept through the window. Emma woke to find them asleep in their chairs, still connected. She smiled, the first genuine joy she'd felt since Papa died. Outside, the barn door stood open to spring air, fully repaired and solid, but fresh hoofprints circled the property, a warning neither adult had seen yet. The wolves were gathering. Cole saw the dust before he heard the horses. His hand moved toward his gun, then stopped. Not yet. 3 riders approached mid-afternoon. Thornton, prosperous and cold-eyed, Preacher Sims, clutching a Bible like a weapon, and a nervous deputy. Emma grabbed Cole's hand as they dismounted. "Miss Garrett," Thornton began, voice dripping false concern, "we've come regarding the child's welfare. An unmarried woman living with a strange man. It's simply not proper." Cole stepped forward, controlled fury in every line of his body. "This ain't about morality. It's about that creek running through her land." Thornton's smile didn't waver. "Water rights are a community concern, as is the moral education of children." He produced papers. "My sister is prepared to provide Emma a proper Christian home. You have 48 hours to make arrangements." "This is theft dressed up as righteousness," Sarah said, voice shaking. The deputy cleared his throat uncomfortably. "There's also the matter of Mr. Hartley's history. Outstanding warrant for desertion of duty." He looked apologetic. "Someone in town informed us. Can't have a wanted man around children." Emma's face crumpled. Cole felt Sarah's world collapsing beside him. "You're stealing a child for water rights and calling it God's will," Cole said quietly, dangerously. Thornton shrugged. "We're doing our civic duty. Good day." They rode away, leaving destruction in their wake. Sarah wept, feverish again from stress. "You have to go," she told Cole. "I won't let you hang for us." Emma fled outside, sobbing. That night, Cole packed his saddlebag. Sarah turned her face to the wall. Emma watched from the well, her world ending again. He mounted his horse and rode toward the property line. He'd run before. He'd run again. That's what broken men did. Cole reached the creek that marked the boundary and stopped. Freedom lay ahead. Everything he'd sworn never to want again lay behind. He made camp, fully intending to leave at dawn. The stars came out, cold and distant. He built a small fire and stared into it, seeing ghosts, his wife's final breath, His daughter's grave. 5 years of empty drifting. Town after town. Never staying. Never caring. Running hadn't saved them. But staying here would risk everything. Small footsteps crunched through underbrush. Emma appeared, stumbling, exhausted. She'd followed him in the darkness, her face streaked with tears and dirt. "Please don't go," she whispered. "You promised." Then she collapsed. Cole caught her, heart hammering with terror. She was freezing, barely conscious. He wrapped her in his coat and ran back toward the cabin, every stride a prayer he'd forgotten how to say, holding her small, cold body. Something broke open inside him. Running hadn't saved his first family. Maybe standing would have. He'd never know. But he knew this: he wouldn't fail again. Not this child, not this woman who'd shown him what healing looked like. He burst into the cabin. Sarah cried out, reaching for Emma. Cole laid the girl gently beside her mother, then met Sarah's terrified eyes. "I'm staying," he said. "Let them come. I'll face it, all of it." Sarah's tears fell faster. "Then we face it together." Emma stirred, barely conscious. "You said fear means you got something worth living for." "You're right, my little one." Cole brushed hair from her forehead. "And I ain't running from what I love, not ever again." He placed his old photograph beside Emma's drawing of their family. Past honored, future embraced. Dawn came, and with it, certainty. They came with papers and presumption. Thornton, Sims, the deputy, and a crowd of townsfolk gathered like it was a hanging. Cole had sent Emma to Doc Brennan's house at first light, over her tearful protests. Now he stood beside Sarah in the cabin yard, spring sun warm on his shoulders. He'd left his gun inside. This fight wouldn't be won with violence. Thornton presented legal documents with theatrical flourish. "The matter is settled. The child will be placed with my sister, and you, Hartley, will face territorial authorities." Cole addressed the crowd, "Not the men with power. You all know why this is happening. It ain't about faith or decency. It's about water rights and one man's greed." He pointed at the creek. "Control that water. Control every farm in this valley. Thornton's been buying up land for years. This is the last piece." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Farmer Hayes stepped forward, weathered face uncertain. "Is that true, Thornton?" "Slander," the landowner blustered. Cole continued, voice steady. "I deserted my post 5 years ago after my family died. That's my sin. That's what I'm guilty of. But I found a new family here, and I'll face any consequence to keep them safe." He looked at Sarah. "I'll stand trial, serve time, whatever's required, but Emma stays with her mother." Doc Brennan arrived then, Emma beside him. "I've been treating Mrs. Garrett," the old doctor announced. "She's recovering well. The child is healthy, happy, thriving. There's no cause for removal." Other voices joined. Farmer Hayes. "We've been cowards long enough. Thornton don't speak for all of us." Mrs. Kelly. Ashamed. "He threatened my husband's loan if I didn't inform on Mr. Hartley. I'm sorry." The crowd shifted, a tide turning. The deputy looked relieved. "The warrant's minor. Mr. Hartley. Not worth causing a riot. If you're willing to pay a fine and register your whereabouts." "I am." Thornton's face purpled. "This isn't over." But everyone knew it was. Spring came late that year, but when it arrived, it brought more than wildflowers. 6 weeks later, the land bloomed. Wildflowers carpeted the meadow in gold and purple. The cabin garden showed green rows of vegetables, herbs. Emma's sunflowers already knee-high. Sarah's health had fully returned, color in her cheeks, strength in her movements. Cole had courted her properly, the town preacher grudgingly cooperating after Thornton left the territory in disgrace. They'd marry in summer, a simple ceremony. Emma called him Pa now, and every time she did, Cole's heart cracked open a little more. Healing crooked, but healing just the same. Doc Brennan visited regularly. Farmer Hayes brought supplies, his gratitude evident, Thornton's scheme exposed, their water rights secure. Even Mrs. Kelly had made amends, sewing Emma a new dress and teaching Sarah her grandmother's recipes. This afternoon, the three of them walked to the well together. Cole filled the bucket easily while Emma splashed water, laughing. Sarah's hand rested in his, her wedding band, Thomas's, given with blessing, catching sunlight. The well, once a place of isolation and daily suffering, had become their gathering spot, sacred, joyful. Pa, tell the story again, Emma said, about when you first saw me. Cole knelt beside her. I saw a brave girl carrying the world in a bucket, and I knew I was home. Emma hugged him fiercely. Sarah joined them, and they stood there, silhouetted against the setting sun, three people who'd been broken separately, now whole together. Inside the cabin, the lamp would be lit soon. The barn held supplies for their first full harvest. The land stretched green and promising toward distant hills. Some families are born, others are built, one sunrise at a time, by strangers who become fathers, by children who teach courage, by love that refuses to run. The girl was never alone again. None of them were.